In this screencast, we're going to look at actually changing the back-end interface of Matrix to make some of the screens a little more usable. Now, we're going to edit a file called lang_strings.xml, which can actually be used to do a heap of different things. Basically, all the text that you see that's printed within the admin UI of Matrix is generated from this file, and typically it's used, just to change these bits of text, but because we can insert HTML and JavaScript in there, we can manipulate it to do a lot of other things. So one of the little bugbears about Matrix of mine is the confirmation window that you get when moving an asset to the trash. So if we want to move this particular product to the trash, what happens is we get a pop-up window like here. Now, if you've only seen this a few times, or if you don't use Matrix that often, I could understand how you'd say, well, it does say, please confirm that you are moving one asset to the trash. It is pretty obvious. However, when you see this screen tens or even hundreds of times a day, it's very easy just to click next, because a lot of the other actions that you perform when you're moving assets, when you're maybe even changing a design or confirming something, you do see a very similar screen every time. And you'll find that your users will eventually accidentally move something to the trash. So you might not think it's a big deal, but I personally think that this is one of the interfaces that could be greatly improved. If you're not of that opinion anyway, we can have a look at just some of the changes you can make to your back end in Matrix. And just a quick note, I suppose, that this would probably void any warranty that you might have with Squiz. So if you're running the GPL version, it's not an issue. But if you do have a Squiz supported version and you are having a warranty, then you'd probably need to contact them just to make sure that how this might affect any warranty that you have. So the aim of the first part is we want to make it really obvious that we're actually moving this particular asset to the trash. So I'll just cancel that one for now. And another warning, I suppose, is this: it does get a little technical. So if you're not comfortable with actually connecting to a server, maybe just have a watch, and you might need to ask someone else to do this for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is SSH into our local server as the Matrix secrets user. So matrix.localhost. And I'll just try and get the password right. There we go. So now if we go into the Matrix directory, which in my case is just there. So what we need to find is the lang_strings.xml file, and where that should be located is in core locale en. So if we go into core locale en, and we'll just have a look what's in there. So lang_strings.xml is the one we want. And so as I've recommended in the book, you should always make a backup of this. So how you would do that is just copy the lang strings file to a backup file like that. So before we edit it, if we break anything majorly. The other point, I guess, in this is that you should do this on a test environment, so I wouldn't recommend doing this directly on your live environment. So from there, we're going to now edit that file. Okay, and it's a pretty big file, so what we're going to look for is a bit of text called HIPO confirm move trash. So HIPO confirm move trash. Yep, so that's the one that we want. And just to make it a bit easier for us to read, I'll just chuck in some line breaks there. So, and the way I want to highlight this, I guess, is just to really emphasize the to the trash part of it. So I guess what we'd want to do is something like this: span style equals font size to M. So just adding in a little inline style there to really highlight that bit of text. Now, because it's an XML file, what we actually need to do is encode our greater than and less than signs. So rather than the less than sign there, we need ampersand LT for less than and ampersand GT for greater than. Do the same here. and GT. Okay, now I'll just save that file. Now, after doing that, nothing will actually happen. The next thing you need to do is to run the compile locale script to actually make those changes come into effect. So that's in. Let me just find that one. www ssv core. So it's under the install directory. Oops. No, it's not under the core directory. Sorry, let's try it again. Under the install directory, compile locale, and just in front of it, just need to put our php command, and you also need to give the path of the matrix install. So var www msm ssv, and just like that. And just before we run that command, just if you've never done a matrix install before, you need to ensure that you're running the correct version of PHP. So if you do a php-v, what we can see there is we're running the CLI version. So if you see the CGI version, that's not the one you want to run. And sometimes it's sort of aliased as php.cli. But in this case it's not, so that's the one that we want. So I'll just go back to that command and run that. Okay, so it's giving you a warning that you didn't specify a locale parameter. I guess that's if you had multiple languages, you might specify a particular one there, but we don't need to in this case. So we'll let it run through. A few warnings there, that looks nice. So let's just see if that's worked for us. And if we now move an asset to the trash, okay, it doesn't look like it has. So let's just check out what was going on with our errors there. Expecting semicolon, line 807. So what you would probably do here is go back and edit that file. So that was the lang strings file, line 807. Okay, so it is where we've entered it in, and what I forgot to do is put a closing semicolon there. Let's just edit that file as the right user and just find it again. HIPO confirm move trash. Okay, so there we go. So you can see, even though I kind of broke this file, because the compile locale didn't go through, we didn't actually break anything in our system anyway. So that looks better this time. Try that command again. Hopefully this time it works a bit better. Okay, good. So try that again, move it to the trash, and there we go. So, you could pick whatever style you wanted, but I think at least if it, really comes out in your face and says you're moving this to the trash, you're going to at least slightly increase the chances that your users are going to read what they're saying, what matrix is saying in there. The other one that I have a particular problem with is moving an asset from one location to the other. So if product 1 was moving under search, for example, please confirm that you're moving the following assets to under search, product 1 from under product. So because we know what we've just did, it's a little bit clearer, but personally I find that really confusing, and I have to stop every time and figure out what it's doing. So please confirm. So basically we're moving products from, no, we're moving product 1 from under the products folder to under search. So yeah, I think it's a little confusing. What I like to do is, I guess, just highlight the two things that you're actually acting on, which is the destination, so the search page in this case, and the actual thing that you're moving, which is product 1. So again, I'm just going to go through the same process and edit the lang strings file so that we can make it a little bit more obvious. So cancel that and go back to our terminal there. So if we edit the file again, and this time we're looking for HIPO confirm move under. Okay. Again, I'll just make it a little easier to work with. And there's actually two bits that we have to change in here. So the first thing that we want to highlight is the %s here, which is just signifying the actual asset, sorry, the destination asset. So again, I'm going to put span style equals font size to M, and again we'll make sure the less than and greater thans are properly encoded. So LT for less than, GT for greater than, okay, so that's the first bit, and the second bit of the message is HIPO from under, up there. So, I mean, honestly, you could probably even delete that second bit because I don't know how important it is to know the location that you're moving the asset from. But regardless, I'll just, for now, highlight the actual asset that you're moving. So style equals font size to M. And let's just insert these, less than, greater than, greater than, less than. Okay, so if we run that same command, the compile locale one, and hopefully we don't get an error. Okay, so that looks good. If we go back to our matrix backend, so now if we move product 1 to under search, okay, so I reckon that's a lot nicer. You can sort of, it really stands out. Product 1 is moving to search. You could go completely nuts, I suppose, and just change the wording of that, maybe even an arrow, you know, product 1 to search. But so as I said at the start of this screencast, there's two important factors in here. One is that you can make these changes to matrix, and there are a lot of interface improvements that I think you can make for your organization, especially if you're seeing users moving the wrong asset, if you do your own user testing, or if they're, you know, mistakenly deleting assets. The other one is the power of this lang strings XML file. So if I just go back to it quickly, it's a massive file, so there's a whole lot of different things you can look at in here, and any of these strings you could change, any of these messages you can change. You can even insert your own JavaScript if you want to. So, but there are lots of possibilities in here for changing issues that you might have with the interface, or even inserting something that's custom to your organization. So really customizing the admin UI.